Welcome, everyone. Welcome to the go-to platform where faith-driven entrepreneurs, thought leaders, and experts share their stories, wisdom, and expertise to inspire and impact others. This isn't just another interview series. This is a strategic platform designed to amplify the voices of high-level entrepreneurs, which especially includes kingdom entrepreneurs who are making a real difference in their industries. My goal is simple: to serve you, the expert, by giving you a stage to share your message, expand your reach, and create lasting value for others. Through authentic, in-depth conversations, we uncover the real journeys, challenges, and victories behind today's leading experts. Each interview isn't just content. It's a powerful asset that helps you to establish authority, increase visibility, and connect with the right people. So with that, let's dive into today's episode. Once again, welcome. Welcome, everyone. Welcome to another expert interview with Ken. And today I have special guest Dylis, and she is a transformational leader, speaker, founder of Jamila, the Healing and Leadership House. With an ACCA qualified and master's in international finance, she blends analytical rigor with soul deep healing. She empowers visionary leaders to reclaim their voice, rewire their identity, and raise into legacy level leadership. Her work confronts pain head on, transforming it into purpose and power. If you're ready to trade survival for sovereignty, burnout for purpose, and noise for true impact, she is the voice to follow. You guys, this is a very special guest. She's got a very powerful message to share, and I'm very, very excited to have her here on today's show. So welcome. What I want to do is unpack everything that is about your story, all the things that's, how did you get here? What are all the pieces that had to come into line? Let's start there, and then we'll just kind of flow with the conversation from there. So welcome, my friend.
Thank you so much, Ken, for having me on your very impactful podcast. I'm so thrilled for this conversation, and I cannot wait for us to get into it. I'm hoping that we get a lot out of it so that the people that are listening can be inspired and even be motivated if that's what they want. But if someone's story is really huge and I'm like, oh my God, how do we navigate this? But I think we're going to be talking about the things that we need to talk about that would inspire the people that are listening. Thank you again for having me.
You're welcome. It's my pleasure. Totally. Love your smile, love your face. Just having your presence here is just amazing. So unpack it. What's your story? What's this all about?
Well, I mean, it's very big, it's very broad. I'm just thinking, where do I begin? But what is coming to mind is the reflections that I've been having recently, where I'm finding myself in this new place that is completely easy for me. Things are easier than they've ever been before. And I cannot help but think about those days when things did not used to be this easy, where my nervous system did not have any breaks. It was always in this survivor mode. And it started where I got kicked out of a home for different reasons. It's so interesting. And I think people wouldn't even believe why I got kicked out. And the reason was because I chose the person I wanted to marry against my family. For some reason, that was in my early 20s. They didn't just want me to marry him, and I didn't understand why. And he was someone that would come around and spend time with all of us, and we were really a tight-knit family, but they just did not want him to marry me. And from the conversations that he would tell me, he would say that my family had a different expectation of the person that should marry me, and it was not him. And he was a pharmacist, well accomplished, but maybe it wasn't enough. So that was something I couldn't process, and that was the beginning of my downfall. A long journey that I went into because apparently I got kicked out because I told my family I'm gonna go ahead with my choice for my own sake. I was born with a mind of my own. I'm that kind of person. I've always had a mind of my own. And I thought everybody was like that. I didn't think I was doing anything wrong until you come against these traditions within family settings. When you grow, you come away from teenage age and you go into early 20s and you start discovering different dynamics within the family. It's more rigid, and I'm like, oh my God, is it the same family? And I came, head on with my family, and for me, it was very easy to stand my ground, easy to want what I want because it was very clear to me what I wanted. And since it wasn't accepted, I got kicked out, and I hit the valley, and I would spend many days in the valley. Everything was stripped away from me, family, friends, everybody I knew up until that time disappeared from my life in that time. And so I came into this new world by myself, completely new people that I don't know. And that is when I came to really know God. My friend invited me to a church, said, "Come to church. I'm heartbroken because I'm separated from my fiance. I'm by myself, and my colleague says, you know what, just come to church." And I've never been to a Pentecostal church before. I had been to them before, but not as much as I'm about to experience at that point, the Pentecostal church experience. And so I was very desperate. So I went. I went with my friend. And as soon as I walked into that church, this person was there teaching from the front. And as I entered, he said, "There's a young lady, you've walked in. As a matter of fact, you've just talked to your fiance and the relationship is ending." And he told me to come to the front, and he called exactly where my fiance lived. I was shocked because I'd never seen anything. I was in pain, and I was like baffled with what was happening. How did this man know all these details? And he said, "Bring your phone and call him in front of everybody. And this time around, he's going to peek, and this time around, he's going to talk." And so we did that. And I kept going to a few others that my friends would invite me to. And every time I would show up, they would call me and they would say, "God has a calling on you. It's beyond your relationship. God is calling you. You have a prophetic call. You have greatness." I did not understand that because all I wanted was to reconcile with my fiance. And I'm going, what is going on? And before all of that, my fiance was very godly. He would take me to church. And his dream was that we would go to Bible school and that we will praise God together. And I used to tell him, I am not wired to be a pastor's wife. That's definitely not me. But yeah, am I now on the path of walking into a calling that I did not know. And so I decided to just be obedient, but in that process, it was so difficult. There was no money, bad friendships. I don't know anybody, and it went on for about 7 years.
Wow.
And yes, 7 years of this survivor, trusting God. Like I would work and come home and I wouldn't see where my money is going to. There were days that I didn't have anything to eat and nobody would know. There were days that when I got kicked out, I went and took out loan credit to buy my things and rent out a place, little place. I didn't have winter clothes on. I couldn't afford them. I didn't have winter shoes, and that winter was so cold. There was snow, and I would just use my regular one pair of shoes because I got kicked out with nothing. So it was so difficult. And then in that process, I had an encounter with God in front of people at the church that I used to go to at that time. This presence of God just came down, and I was sitting right at the back. It wasn't even any service that was heavily activated. It was just this. leader talking about his missionary trip from Africa, and people were laughing. And then I stood there, I sat at the back, and I got this presence came on me and shook me and started speaking in tongues. And up until then, I wouldn't believe in tongues. But when I experienced that, it changed me completely. And when that presence came on me, the rest was history. In the next couple of weeks, people started coming to my home. My home got packed with people, and they were staying in my home. We were doing prayers, deliverance. I became another woman completely, but still going through the survival, the suffering, the pain, still trying to build relationship with new people in the church. Before, in my career, I had friends and all whatnot. I have a finance background, and now I have all these people in the church, and I'm supposed to make friends with them, and that's everything is new to me. Now I'm leading people. They are ordaining me. Immediately I became a minister. I became this, and I'm trying to figure out what's happening. They could see what was happening on me. They could see leadership on me. They could see the anointing on me, but they couldn't hear me when I say I don't know what's happening. I just was continuing to be obedient. um, and then, while I'm, allowing God to use me, I'm also opening myself up for Him to heal me, because I knew that I was broken. I knew that, where I came from was had some issues, and I wanted to be healed, and I wanted to come out of that wilderness experience. And I read the Bible back to back. I taught the Bible, but I would teach the Bible first to myself. And then what I'm teaching people is out of my own experience, out of my own journey with them. And it felt like a lifetime of
Mm,
pain, and just really condensing how intense it was. I started ministering globally to people around the world, all cultures, nations, different kinds of issues. Um, it was natural to me because the anointing was on me. But again, I was very present with my own journey, my own, like I told you the other time, healing and deliverance, which was something that was very important. And that was where everything I was doing was coming from. And then I got this massive promotion that I thought would come to me 10 years from now, but it came in 2019. I wasn't ready for it, where I was invited to sit on this, platform of international leaders in the church in this country as a voice to speak into the nations and the church. And I was just like, oh God, oh my God, I thought you were going to give me this somewhere down the line. Like, am I ready for this? And I thought about running, but it came as an invitation. You're invited to that place. And I'm just like, if they invited me, it means they would have seen the work I've done in the communities, I've done with churches and organizations. And I'm like, Dillis, don't quit. And so when I took that, it was a very interesting experience. It was the privilege of my life to sit down with these beautiful, powerful voices, but quickly began to expose different levels of things that I had to work on in myself, the next level of my journey of my own healing. And that's when I came into healing the abandonment wound that I had experienced from childhood that we
mm,
did talk about. And when that opened, oh my goodness, I was floored, but I was excited to run to the Father's feet for him to begin to heal me if he will reveal that. So, um, I don't know if you have any question you want me to keep going, just let me know. I'll keep going.
mm. There is one question that I have in regards to your story that hit the question kind of just hit me, and I'm like, one of the things that we want to talk about today is kind of like breaking the cycle. And the topic that you sent me that you kind of wanted to center around was is breaking the cycle, claim the throne, redefining resilience for those that are done shrinking back, if you will.
Yeah.
Um, for those that are done trying to explain themselves, done shrinking, and done waiting for permission. So in light of the topic that that we want to talk about today. My question to you is, through all of that storm that you went through. So, I mean, it sounds like on one end of the spectrum, it was an amazing time for you. But on the other end of the spectrum, there was still a raging storm going on. There was still a lot of moving pieces in the background. And, there was still a lot of pain, a lot of hurt that maybe you were cycling yourself through and everything else. So, what was the precipice moment? What was the cliff moment where you finally said, in the midst of all that, in the midst of everything you were going through, both scenarios, the good one and then the storm that was raging around you, what was the moment where it all just came together and it was like, snap, okay, I am done. I am done here. Um, I am jumping aboard fully, both feet. I don't care about this. I don't care about that. I am done. I am going to jump aboard what God's called me. When did that moment happen? And what happened around that to bring you to that precipice, if you will?
That's a good question. I think it happened round about when I had been invited to join this amazing group. And I found myself needing to betray myself in that company of people. That I had to silence myself. I had to deny who I am and reduce myself. And it kept going for a while. It kept going for a while. I'm not someone who would retaliate or react or talk back, or I'm not someone who would try to prove themselves. It's so funny, isn't it? Because you said as well, the good things were happening as well as me being present with the chaos in my own life.
Mhm.
Even the chaos and the pain I was experiencing would not let me retaliate because at the same time, Ken, I was in touch with who I am. I knew the power I had. I knew the destiny. I was born like with that level of consciousness and awareness that there's so much power in me. But I did not have the words, the language to communicate it, express it to the world. And so you would see me show up just with confidence. You would think I'm just a confidence person, but it's quiet confidence. You're just not sure. But again, because I'm trying to fit in this new community, I'm trying to fit in the church. I've had to betray myself. They talk a lot about community. So, Dillis, don't bring your power here. Leave it outside. If you're coming to the church, leave your power outside. Leave your clarity outside and just go with what people say. And I did that and I became so hurt. The pain increased and it reminded me of the pain I've been trying to heal from childhood. I'm like, isn't this the kind of pain that made me got kicked out of my, the similarities and the familiarities of it. And what really tipped the whole thing for me was that I was sitting with people who were healers, who were prophetic voices, powerful people who did deliverance, and they couldn't see me. They couldn't see my own pain. They couldn't see how I was betraying myself. I was hurting. I was dying inside. And I got fed up on one occasion where they had humiliated me publicly on one of our broadcasts. And I don't really need, after the whole broadcast in the green room, I'm someone who's going to tell you their mind. I'll tell you my mind, but in a very polite way. And I said, I don't know what kind of leader you are, but I said, I cannot trust you. I cannot respect you. The person apologized. There was two of them there. They quickly apologized and they said they're going to make things up. We're going to have a couple of meetings to resolve these. And they were taking responsibility. It never happened. But I told them I did not need the meeting. I've made my conclusion and I'm gonna, think about things differently. And it was that time, that was where everything I'd had enough. And so I walked away. I walked away from the place where everybody desires to be. I remember talking to one of my friends here. He was a church leader, and he's been leading for 40 years. He's planted this amazing church. And I'm talking to him, and I say, I'm going to walk away. He wasn't invited on to be there. So they look at me to be like, I was and I don't want to go into all of that. Oh, you can't leave. You're representing. Oh, I'm like, I'm sorry, but I can't. So I walked away and I said, God, if I have failed in my assignment, I don't know. Maybe I'm called to Europe and the UK, to the world. This is the moment I'm going to walk away from all of that. Let him take it. But I'm going to save my soul. I don't want to lose my soul. So that was the moment that I walked away from everything that anybody can attach anything to, accomplishment, accolades, and I became nobody. And my presence online dwindled. Everything collapsed because I didn't put myself out there anymore. I had to go back into like figure what's happening, what's the season, what's going on, because I was just really tired of not being true to myself in those
Mm,
companies. And so my presence, things started going down. I'm not active. I used to be active out there in ministry. So I started doing ministry just behind closed doors, not in the front as I used to. Um, and experiencing the ache and the pain of that in my entire body, of letting go the things that you do, and people will search for you, what's happening. People will send me emails, but I couldn't tell them what was happening because of other people's stories that were connected to it as well. The level of leadership, you had to be very discreet. And so that was where I walked away. And in the process, that's when I wrote this book, The Prophetic Blueprint. And I'm very raw in there, my own process and stuff like that. I couldn't take it anymore. And I said, God, if you're really true, you're going to meet me as Dylis, but not as Dylis the dad and the prophetic voice, the powerhouse, and these. I laid all of that down and I came before him as Dylis, almost like starting over.
mm.
Yeah.
That is a powerful story. And I'm trying to like find the words that I want to say here to get to the point that you were at. So, first, I'm hearing your family abandoned you. And then I'm hearing you got involved in a church circle that raised you up to be, this and that. And in the meantime, as they were raising you up, your inner needs that were real and that needed to be taken care of weren't being met. You were just being raised up as this thing. They wanted you on this pedestal, if you will, and you were still trying to heal, trying to struggle through everything that had happened to you previous to that. Those needs weren't being met. And then I'm
Mhm.
hearing eventually what happened is burnout. you got
Yeah.
you got burnt out and you got burnt, if you will.
Yeah.
So not just burnt out, you got burnt.
Burnt. Yeah.
Um and through all that, but then what I'm hearing is you rose up through all of that. You rose up and you stood your ground, you stood up and you came out and you're just like, God, here I am.
Yeah.
Here I am. I'm ready to serve. I don't care about this over here. I don't care about that over there. I'm not looking to be on the pedestal. I'm raising up to serve. So through that, what happened after that? So after you kind of came to God and you finally said, all right, here I am, everything about me, the weak moments, my hurt, my pain, here it is, here I am. What do you want to do with me? What happened after that?
So what happened was I wrote the book and published the book. I continued to do ministry in my ministry. Um, and then a pattern resurfaced. And I don't know about you, but people get drawn to me and things of that nature to a point where they want to control me. They want to have my time. And so I began to notice the pattern, which is why we're talking about breaking the pattern. I began to notice the pattern resurfacing. You know, I spent a lot of time trying to study myself. What is it about me that would, you know, make people relate to me like that. They want to like own, they want to, it's, I can't just have my boundaries in terms of ministry and stuff like that. It would be very chaotic and different things of that nature. I started figuring the patterns. I'm like, okay, there is this pattern. You need to break these patterns and break that pattern so that you can be the person that God has made authentic to who you are, not
Mm,
what people want you to be. Because if I was not going to do what people want me to be, they would want to leave, and they would not really like they want to leave. They would threaten that they're leaving, but they really don't want to leave because at some point I'll ask them to leave, and they don't even want to leave. So I had to go in, and that's where a lot of healing started. I started healing the abandonment one. We call it the orphan spirit. I started healing that really deep. I talked about those needs as well in my book, figuring out my needs that were not being met and how I can meet those needs with God and myself. And do I have the right people around me that can see those needs and that can support me in the way? So the first thing that I began to get clear on was, what kind of support do you need, Dylan? What kind of people do you need in your life? What does your inner circle look like? Because I get a lot of people around me. A lot of people, are drawn, and I struggle to like keep them. That was one of my battles, my boundaries. And so I began to get clear, what do I need? Who do I need? How can they see my need? How can you communicate your needs to them, so they can help you support your needs as much as you support their needs as well? And so I started developing that. I did a lot of journaling around that to really get clear. Um, it was important for me to have the right people, because for a very long time, I don't think I've had the right people around me. I've had people who come and they would use me.
yes.
Yeah. And I thought that was okay because that was ministry. But at this point, when I've walked away, I'm realizing that I kept giving, and I did not have a container that could keep anything for myself. So I would give and I would give, even when I'm empty, I would still give. I never had a thought that said your container, Dillis, had to be filled and overflowing so you can give from the overflow. And
Mm,
so in this place where I'm now broken, I'm seeing these people trooping back in, demanding my time, creating, and I'm like, it cannot happen. What's going on? And then that revelation came from God. You cannot give from just a filled container. You have to give from your overflow. I was like, gosh, I've been missing in this whole process the whole time. And it was such a game changer for me. And obviously, when you are finding yourself like that, and when you used to help people transform, change their lives, miracles and breakthroughs in unbelievable way, now you're keeping some of that to yourself. People won't like it. And so I better get ready for the backlash that's gonna come, which it did come. But I was not bothered, because when you're in that overflow, you're protected. You're protected by God. You're protected by the anointing, by the presence that's overflowing. And it was one of the best times of my life. And it was the piece that I've been missing to break that. And now I could see the people that were now coming to me were people that was Dylis, how can I, people who come to champion me, people who come to sponsor me without me needing to cry. I'm like, I used to say, oh, no one ever helps me. And that changed when that broke that. Now I'm having people that turns up, how can I help you? How can I champion you?
mm,
How can I sponsor you? How can I take this that you have and put it on this stage and then put it in such a healthy way where I wasn't sacrificing myself, I wasn't missing myself, I was being filled to overflowing, and from there I could pour to other people. And I saw, we're seeing even so much more happen. So that was what happened when I came away. And mind you, when I came away, I didn't know what was gonna happen. It was just faith. When you have you had those moments where you know that you just couldn't go that way anymore? Like even when you don't know which way to go and what lies ahead, but one thing for sure, you know is that you cannot continue to go the way you've been going. And that's what happened when I just came off of that path and I just went over there with God, not having any plans, laying everything down. If I wouldn't do this a day again, I was okay with that. And then he started healing me. He started bringing me to this place of overflow where I became someone as well who needed to be in his presence and filled, not just someone who is a channel. You get the anointing and it goes out, you get the anointing and it's going, it doesn't stay in that container or in the
Mm.
vessel. So now it changed because the oil could stay.
That is such an amazing and powerful message right there. The point you made about giving and serving from the overflow. I think there's a lot of people out there that miss that point,
Yeah.
giving from the overflow. Even you even gave me kind of like a little bit of an aha moment. I was like, that's an interesting point. Have I ever actually thought about that? Giving from the overflow. It's so powerful. So in an aspect to resilience and giving from that overflow and all that. So, what is resilience to you, and how do we redefine it through a faith-based lens, and not just a worldly one?
That's a good question. Resilience to me is that you're gonna go through things in the world. The world is gonna be so difficult. You would have people on your journey that would resist you. Some people will go out of their way to resist you. You will go through life experiences that you will feel like you're going to just give up, right? You will go through unbelievable life experiences, and we all have those moments. Even Jesus said it beautifully. He said, trials and tribulations are part of our existence and are part of what makes us get into the kingdom. And the kingdom is not a physical place. I think the kingdom is the spiritual place, spiritual identity, becoming one in union with Him, which means when you get in union with Him, you're able to overcome life challenges. And the most important thing for me being developing and cultivating resilience is learning how to interpret those difficult moments. Before I would say, why me? And
Mm,
then while you've grown and you're healing, it changes. Now you ask the question, and these questions help you develop resilience, help you become resilient in the face of pain, in the face of resistance, in the face of death. And you're asking, what has this come to teach me?
exactly. That's the shift.
Yeah, what has this come? Why am I going through? What do you want me to learn from this? I would even ask, what part of me do you want to develop through this? And I would anchor in those empowering questions so that I'm able to keep my mind on the big picture and able to see clarity through all of what is happening. And so that's what has carried me because the pain you go through in those times can make you not be resilient. And it's easy. It's stuff happen. Life can be tough.
Hmm.
But when we begin to see that these things are happening to strengthen us, to develop us, to prepare us for the seasons that are ahead, then we would be able to navigate it gracefully, pulling strength from God. Because I think we as human beings, we can only go this much and this far. We need something outside of ourselves. We need something supernatural. And that's where God comes in. Sometimes I used to say, God, how do people who don't know God do? Because you need something to lean on. You need a belief. You need to believe in something powerful, something that has proven itself again and again to lean on so you can build healthy and empowering belief systems that empowers you, that supports you to go where you want to go. And so for me, resilience is, you know, not giving up in when you should, right? When there's every reasons you should, because you have cultivated belief systems, you have leaned of God, developed concepts and principles about God
Yeah.
that is beyond what anybody can teach you, you know, and that is what carries you. I was writing some things a few days ago when I was going through a season last week, very deep place with God, and I began to tap into this deep supernatural strength, and it came to me. This is what our forefathers tapped into when they didn't have a name and they didn't have face, they didn't have identity. It was all stripped away. What kept them going? It was the spirit of God. It was a spirit of faith that they lean into, and it gave them that supernatural ability to keep going. And you're not probably going to hear this from the pulpit. This is a place where you get to when you face death, and you have maybe two options: either dying or believing, so that you come out of there. And that's a whole nother experience that no book can teach you. And if you, that's where when you go through that and you read the Bible, you see the Bible differently. You begin to see Jesus in a very different light. And Paul would say that the revelation that I got was not taught to me by man, it was experiential. And
Mm.
so for me, resilience is that, because if we are humans in this world, we're going to go through those days, and we want to be ready for that and not break, because our nervous system sometimes can take this much. And if we intentionally think about these things and make up in our minds, how do I want to go through this period? How do I, even in that place, who do I need? It's not everybody that can support you during those times when you're needing resilience. It's specific people. You ask, who do I need? Who can understand? Who can speak? Who's been here before? Who am I pioneering this? And if you are pioneering that, it means you have a special grace. You're not gonna collapse. And a lot of times when you're pioneering, you're like, I'm gonna die. You cannot die as a pioneer. So you want to change the cry and say, God, give me strength to go through this. And so for me, that's what resilience is about. It's about cultivating a mindset that supports you and see God the way you need to see God, so that you can be carried through those difficult days and come out with a victorious story to inspire other people.
It's so powerful. Now, and kind of like on that same line of questioning, what are some mindset shifts that you believe are non-negotiable for those who want to stop shrinking back?
So that's a good question. For me, I think one of the ones that began to open the door for me was that you cannot control how people behave. You cannot control how people want to treat you. You cannot control people's opinions. And so I started letting people be who they must be. I started letting people be who they want to be. And there's a place where when you have experienced injustice, you tend to feel like you're waiting for justice to come for that person for you to feel good. The other shift that I had was, if someone hurt you, Dylan, go to God and go let him heal you and release the person and release everything to God. Don't wait for them to
Key.
be caught up with their consequences before you feel good. As
Mm.
a matter of fact, there is why don't you go ahead and bless them? Let them do well. Like if you really want to grow in this. And so the first one for me was, people are gonna be who they must be, who they want to be, and let them be who they want to be. But do not tolerate. If you don't, First, I don't go where I don't feel loved. I don't go where I don't feel celebrated. I don't go where I feel small. I don't. Why? Because I've done that almost all my life, and it did not serve me. It made me feel so much pain. And so, if you want to, if you are someone who mistreats people, who are mean to people, you're not my assignment, and if I don't have favor and influence over you, I'm gonna let you be, but I'm not gonna let you treat me like that. If you treat me like that because I did not know you well, then me and you would never cross paths, and it would be something that I intentionally do. And so the other thing, I think that's two that I've given. The other thing is knowing that every difficult thing that happened, every bad thing that happened, again, is coming to teach us something. It's coming to develop us, and it's coming to shape us to be the person we've been praying we want to be, or the person God created us to be. And so, if we start seeing it from that light, it would really help us um, not shrink, and then the mindset shift, it could be a mindset shift or an identity shift, would be love yourself. One of the things that I found myself that I did for so many years was expecting people to treat me well when I wasn't treating myself well, expecting people to see me when I wasn't seeing myself, expecting people to meet my needs when I wasn't there for my own needs. Can you sit quiet, Dillis, and just spend time with you in your own solitude, with your own breath, with your own thoughts, with your own
Mm.
whatever is coming out of your body? Can you sit in that? And so I was like, why did I even expect anybody to see me when I couldn't see myself? Why
Right.
did I expecting all these leaders to give me these and treat me well when I wasn't treating myself? And so, Ken, the whole thing flipped. And now I was demanding that from myself. Whatever you wanted from them, demand it from yourself. Give it to yourself. And when I started giving it to myself, it was easy peasy. I would not let anybody treat me less than how I treat myself. And so that was a simple equation.
That's amazing. Amazing. Now, as you were explaining all that, I wrote down a question, but I'm seeing there's a better way to ask this. It's kind of a little bit more deep. So, when someone's identity has been shaped by trauma, abuse, or rejection, how do they reclaim who they are in Christ? So, we're talking about our identity in Christ. What does it look like to find your identity in Christ again? In the midst of the trauma, the abuse, the rejection, and stuff like that? How do you go through the process of reclaiming that, who God says that you are? Um, how do you go through that process of reclaiming that?
That's a big question. I can think about my own journey, but what really comes to mind is people that I've had the privilege of serving and working with. This lady came through to my work, and she found me on the live broadcast that I was doing, and Googled and came. And when she came to one of my open meetings, I could see a lot because of my gifts. Immediately I knew that what she wanted was love. What she needed was love. Before anything else, before deliverance, before the trauma, before identity, she needed to experience what true unconditional love was. And so for the next couple of months that she was part of us, and she's still part of us, the only thing that I wanted to give her was unconditional love.
Mm.
And I've had conversations with her. She's gone through unspeakable trauma, being trafficked at the age of 6 years old. Yes, and it went on for years. That traffic with a bunch of men and take turns to do all kinds of things at the age of 6. So that would destroy your soul. You will grow up to be an adult that probably never meet your real self. If that self that was broken at that age is not healed.
Mm.
And so she came through, and she's very used to people prophesying to her, you're this mighty woman of God, you're gonna do this. But for me, when the first time I saw her and I'm prophesying over her, I'm like, God is gonna heal you, and God is gonna, and she's like, what kind of prophecy is that? And what, she didn't like it. Um But I've asked her so many questions. I asked her the question you asked me. Why did you come here? What do you need? How do you know what you need? Why do you
Right.
need what? Yeah. And she said, because I know that who I am right now, it's not the person God created me to be. And she had forgotten even the story, what the experience, she's blocked it out that happened at childhood. So I said, okay, you don't feel like you're 100% who God say you are. And she said, no, I don't think so. I'm not that person. And I want to be, and I think God can use you to help me do that. And then we started going through mentorship, my coaching program. And then all of a sudden, those things started flooding back. And because of the environment that was very loving, she was able to go there. A lot of people cannot go there because the depth of love is not sufficient for them to trust that they can go there and come back out. And she said like going there and reclaiming those experiences, talking about them, and um, and in her 40s at the moment, and then when she's going there, coming back and experiencing healing, she can see that she's had about 21 personalities, and if from her own words, with the healing journey. And she said, if I did not reclaim my true identity in God, I would never be who God has called me to be. I would be everything else. I would be busy doing that, busy doing, getting in trouble, getting into more confusion, more chaos with people all my life. I'm not doing that. I feel that sometimes people don't know that how how trauma has impacted them. They wouldn't know unless they get in the presence of someone who is a healer, who has a healing anointing, so they can be able to see the difference. Some people do know, and they're scared to be able to confront it, which is rightfully so. Some people know and they want the transformation, they want the healing, they want to reclaim their identity. So, what I've seen in the church from when I was at that level of leadership is that we talk a lot about sonship, Ken, but we don't dare to go deep enough to heal what hinders our true identity. A lot of the leaders are flowing from an alternative identity, and we don't connect. So for me, this is what I saw, and I try to communicate it in different messages on my own journey, but they would not be able to get it. Sonship has to go so deep in the core of our being and begin to reclaim parts of us that were abandoned, that were overly identified with rejection. And that is still repeating. In church, we have given those things names, and we've looked for scriptures to support those identities and those different perceptions of us that God is intending to really tear down so we can step into our true identity. So we have put scriptures on it. We have called it holy when God is trying to tear it down because it's not truly who we are. A human being that is walking fully in their pure essence and identity with God. When you become this with God, you will be unstoppable. I don't care what witchcraft want to come, and I don't care what resistance want to come against you. If you tap into that pure essence of who you are, and then on top of that, you unite with God, you are a force to be reckoned with, not just in the words as I have said it, but in your presence. When you show up to a place, they will feel, they will turn around and say, who just got in here?
Mm,
We would become angels who be in awe of who we are because of our presence. We'll begin to feel each other more than people will feel angels. People feel angels with their hair lift up in the back of. That is what we would be like in the church. Would look at this identity thing, this sonship thing. The Bible says that the world is waiting for the sons of God, is groaning, because that's how powerful
yeah.
that thing is. And so my hope and my work is to bring people to this place, and we grow from glory to glory in that, becoming more like him. That's our most powerful state, like him.
Wow. Just wow. There's so many powerful gems that you have shared in this interview. And as we're getting ready to wrap up, here is one of the last questions that I have for you. Um, for those who are done explaining themselves, for those who are done shrinking, for those who are done waiting for permission, for those who are done being used by other people and being told that they are something when they're not that something, but there's something else that God has called them to be. For those that are done, what are 3 to 5 powerful tips that you will leave the audience with today, or the listener, whoever they are? What are 3 to 5 powerful tips that you would give them to start that transition?
Wow, that is a tough question because it's I'm not gonna promise you that it's gonna be an easy transition.
No, it's not.
The-
So don't hear what we're saying here as it's going to be easy. One of the things before she continues that I want to mention to everybody, in every circumstance, you have a choice. You can choose one, to be a victim, or you can choose two, to pivot and go a different direction and empower yourself through that different direction. It does not mean the storm has gone away. Much as in Dylis's story, she had a storm still raging in her heart as God was leading her down the path that he wanted her on, which eventually dropped her here. So now with that in clarification, continue, my friend.
That is such a very powerful clarification. Those words that you use, choose not to be a victim, because those were one of the things that I had to decide not to do. Change the way you tell your story, change the way you see your story, pivot no matter what. I think the people who resonate with you and your audience are people who will pivot. And there's gonna be some backlash when you say, when I walked away, I didn't have the connections. I didn't, it took me a while. You have to build it. But that's the best place because you'll be building it from an authentic place. So be the person that would pivot regardless, because the suffering is going to be temporary. It's going to be for a very short time. The discomfort is going to be for a very short time. The lack of support. And this is also the thing for those of you who say you're done. And the reason you're done is also because you are one of those ones that don't get supported because of who you are. And so, um, pivot and be proud of it and make up in your mind. This is the second thing. When you pivot, make up in your mind that you're gonna suffer for a little bit. You're gonna be going through some tough time for a little bit. You're probably not gonna have a lot of people you're gonna be talking to. Prepare your mind for that. Sit down with yourself. Jesus will say, what man will want to build a house and hasn't sat down to count the cost? So sit down and count the cost, and still do it anyway, knowing that you're doing it with God, knowing that God is leading you that way. You're better being by yourself, learning about yourself, studying God through those seasons than being where they're suppressing you. And I think even in the gospel, the Bible, God doesn't do well with us when we're being oppressed and suppressed, and He cannot use you. If you are done, it means you have an important message, you have an important work to do in this world. It could be big, it could be small, it could be one person, but it's important that you are available in terms of your mindset, your identity, your emotions, and your happy, so God can bring the clarity and really equip you for that. He cannot equip you when you're being oppressed by other systems and other things. And so, pivot, take time out for yourself, count the cost. It's going to cost you. What is the cost? Then the next thing you want to do, who do you need? Who can you reach out to that you can take out for coffee and really explain and enlist their support,
Mm,
request their support and say, hey, the next couple of months are gonna be tough for me. Can I count on you? And you are gonna be able to be there for me. And if they can't, that's fine, because you really want to enlist people who can support you, who can carry you through those times as well. And then while you're there, I think my last point would just be heal, 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 and forgive. Because by then you'll be carrying a lot of emotions in your body. We store these things in our bodies and in our nervous systems around how badly people have treated you. So you want to forgive yourself for allowing that to happen in the first place over those years, and forgive those people, forgive yourself, and begin to teach yourself how to thrive and not survive anymore when you've walked away from that.
Powerful. Very, very powerful. How can people reach out to you if they want to work with you, or if they want to connect with you? How can people reach out to you? What's the best ways that people can do that?
So the best way, if you put on, just Google DylisChi.com, you will go to my website, Jamila, the Healing and Leadership House. We have different programs on there. Our mentorship and coaching is on there, and our live events as well that we do. You can also follow me on Facebook at Dylis Chi. Just put Dylis Chi on social media. You would able to find me Facebook, TikTok, YouTube. I have videos there as well. And then we you could I have this free devotional that I've written around faith. It would really inject you with faith regardless of where you are. If you go on my website, you can find it, and just subscribe, and you'll get our free devotional that will help you, support you in this season of no shrinking and breaking the cycle.
Perfect, perfect. And the links to all of that, you guys, are going to be in the description below this video. So you're going to see her bio there. You're going to see, and then you're going to go below her bio and the links to connect with her and to check out the book is all going to be in the description below this video. And so with that, what's also going to be in the description below, so below Dylis's stuff, you'll see the links to also connect with me. So maybe this is your first time hearing anything from me. You're wondering, who am I and what's this interview is all about, and da da da. First of all, my name is Ken Kleinberg, and I'm a mastery weight loss coach. My brand is Mastery Weight Loss, and it's Mastery Weight Loss because mastery is a big part of it. You must now master that journey. It's about owning that journey. It's not about the destination. You now become the project. And I've lost 62 and a half pounds, and I've kept it off for 7+ years now, all without a diet, and having that be 100% sustainable. You don't even think about it. Right now, I'm giving away my 3 secrets to help you lose weight, feel energized, and get healthy without starving or dieting, especially without dieting. In just 3 short, powerful one-on-one sessions with me in my mini educational boot camp, I expose the 3 biggest lies keeping people sick, stuck, and overweight, because that's how that system makes money. And I show them how to fuel their body God's way so that they can finally break free and keep the weight off for life, like I've been able to. Right now, that mini educational boot camp is at an extremely reasonable price. My coach is already telling me it's getting time to raise the price. So I would jump aboard now, grab that price before I do have to raise it. The link to join that mini educational boot camp will also be below, as well as other links to connect with me. You guys, you got nothing to lose but those extra pounds, and you've got everything to gain in the right and freeing way. And so all of that's going to be below in the description. And as far as Dylis goes, like I said, her links will also be there. Connect with her. This is a powerhouse woman that you want to connect to. There are so many gold nuggets and gems that she dropped today in her story, and the things that she shared, the empowerment that she shared, and what she's been through. And so I really encourage you guys, connect with her, have a chat with her. So with that, is there any last minute thoughts you'd like to share, Dylis?
Well, I just want to encourage them to pivot, live your life, live the life that God has called you to live. Like I always say, build the life that you love. Let nothing stop you from doing that.
Amazing, amazing. All right, you guys, will have a great rest of the day or evening, depending on where you are in the world and what time of day you are listening. And I will catch you on the next expert interview with Ken. Talk to you guys later.